the foundation of building a really strong team. We want to talk about this mainly because if you can get this right, your chances of succeeding as a manager, in my opinion, go up dramatically. If you're a manager, a middle manager specifically, you probably had very minimal training. You inherited a team potentially, or you may have started a team from scratch. Usually you inherit one. And then once you inherit that team, you're kind of left to your own devices to manage that team. And you have things you want to try, you have things you want to accomplish and achieve, all the stuff you talked about during the interview process to prove that you were the guy or the woman to be able to run this team. Now we're here, we're running the team. It's like, oh crap, what am I doing? What in the world am I doing now? Had all these things happen to me I didn't expect. So what I want to give are five things, five tips, five areas that I believe if you can focus on this, do this at probably a good enough level, you'll be okay. Jumping right into it. The first thing, you need to be able to hire well. Understanding how to hire is important. I'm sure that's very obvious, right? Well, being able to hire well really puts you in position to succeed. Hiring well, understanding what that takes, what you need to do in order to get the right candidates, in order to interview properly, in order to negotiate well, and in order to be able to train these people when they come on board. So hiring well is a focus point. Here's why hiring is difficult though. You don't spend a lot of time doing it. If you have a stable team and you're in a pretty stable company, the way that you actually get interview practice is probably very sporadic. You may have a 3-month time period where you interview a lot and then you don't interview for 9 months. The only way you can get a tremendous amount of interview practice is if you're in a growth company and you're on a team that's actually growing, which means you need to hire roles for that team. Then you can get a lot of practice. You can get a really good understanding of what you need, what you don't want, who works, who doesn't work. But if you're not in one of those situations, hiring can really feel extremely difficult. And it's just difficult because you're not sure what you're looking for. You don't have enough reps at it. Out of everything you do as a manager, you may say, okay, I spend 5% of my time hiring. Maybe. But then there's these lulls and these lapses where you don't hire for months and you never look at a resume, you never do an interview. Now you got a role open. Now you got to figure out what you want. Now you got to go back to interviewing. Now you got to be able to make a good decision. This is why hiring can be difficult. And this is why often even the most seasoned professionals make mistakes, hiring the wrong candidates, even at the highest levels. If you're a manager and you're saying to yourself, I got to get this right, I got to get this hiring decision perfect, it's not really true because everyone makes mistakes. Now, making a mistake is oftentimes it can be detrimental because it slows down your progress probably by about 6 months at a minimum if you're able to correct the mistake. But if you let that mistake persist and you spend a ton of time working with someone to get them up to speed and it just looks like that can work out, but then you spend more time, now you're talking about a year later that things aren't going the way they could. This is why hiring is so important. So when it comes to building a team, you really want to be able to understand, how do I hire? What am I looking for in this person that I'm trying to hire? What I think is very, very important is, do they know enough? The next part of it is, how well are they going to work? How well do they work within the group, within the organization? Can they work? Can they work with the right attitude that I'm looking for? And this balance, to me, if you can get this balance right, if you can find someone who knows enough, not everything, but enough. If you can find someone who knows that, and then you can say that gap that they do not have, or that gap of the information that they're missing, you as the manager can find ways to fill that gap. If that's possible, this is good. This is a good place to be. And the other part about it is understanding how they work, the attitude, the energy, do they embody the culture, the spirit that you want the team to have? That's the other piece that goes with it. There's a ton of other stuff within this. If I can tell you two main boxes to focus on, it will be that. Now, when you go and do your resume portion of it, I mean, your job rec portion of it, at that point in time, you can start to identify the character traits of the person that you are hiring. So this prerequisite should say, okay, they're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the job. They need to have these skills. But if I can find the character traits that fit those skills perfectly, now when they say they can do something, I believe them to be maybe a better fit for it. So you can get that out of your job recs. Okay, I got the characteristics. Now, once I get them, this characteristics into the interview phase, once I'm in the interview phase, two things I can say is from a knowledge standpoint, do they have the knowledge? And for whatever they're missing, can they get that knowledge? The next side of it is to say, okay, I believe they can do it. I've already assessed to get to this point that they have the character traits or the personality traits that fit. Now I want to try to understand the method at which they work. How in tune are they with their work? How much do they like their work? How deep are they going when it comes down to understanding their work? Do they work in the method that I think fits the culture of the team? This is the next question that you want to be able to ask yourself. Using those two, I think puts you in a good spot. So you want to be able to hire, and those are two tips I think you can use to be able to hire. The next piece of this that I believe is, as a manager, you really need to be able to coach and train. Team development, employee development is important for you as a manager, but it's just as important for your team. You have to be able to facilitate it, though. You cannot leave it up to the powers that be or even your own team members to go and seek out their own development. Some people are just not wired to seek development. They'll receive it when you give it to them, but they're not necessarily wired to seek it. So it's up to you to be able to provide it and then provide the atmospheres and the environments for them to be able to receive it. In other words, I believe in having a culture of ongoing training. There is no such thing as you're trained. And I take this from the athletic world where people train constantly. There's always practice. There's always training. It's the understanding that we have to continuously work in order to get better at something. There is no, oh, you've made it. There's this, I've made it to this point, but there's always another place to be able to go. The one thing I believe is lacking in corporate settings is that there isn't a culture of ongoing training. There's a culture of what I call spot trainings. And a spot training is something that happens every so often, 3 months, quarterly, 6 months, annually, hour to maybe a day, 2-day workshop, whatever you want to call it. That's where you get your training and you're expected to learn something, one big thing, and come back and implement it. And now you're a brand new person. That's not enough. What I see is I see the top performers taking training into their own hands and spending a ton of time doing it, or spending a large amount of their time training, learning to get better, trying new things. And then all of a sudden, over the course of a few years, they look 10 times better than the average person. Well, from a manager perspective, just think if you know people who train and learn over time are going to be 10 times better, why wouldn't you create an environment or create a place for your team members to be able to train and learn? So you don't have to wait for the spot trainings. You can create an ongoing training yourself. And maybe you're not even saying, man, I'm not that good at this stuff. That's fine. Pick the subject matter, find someone who's an expert, and then have discussions about it. That's all. It's an easy way to start with it. But you have to be able to create this environment of ongoing training if you want to have a top performing team. The other piece about training is it keeps things fresh for everyone because the training stretches your mind. It stretches how you think about things. It expands your abilities and your capabilities. Now with expanded skills, because you have an expanded mind and you've tested them, now when you go to work and do the job, you're able to implement better. You're able to execute at a higher level. And also too, the expansion of the skills allows the people on the team, along with yourself, to expand in what you guys are doing in your day-to-day work. In other words, you're able to grow. But as a manager, if you really want the team to perform at a high level, you have to facilitate growth. You cannot wait for the company to do it, for someone else to do it. And you want to be able to create an environment of ongoing training. What this could look like weekly, bi-weekly. It needs to be more than monthly though. And having this scheduled out, having this environment, I believe you will see phenomenal results by doing this. Next thing I believe you need is really a clear vision. You need a clear vision for what the team will do. You need a clear vision for what you're going to do. We need to know our North Star. We need to know where we're going. We need to have an understanding of why we're doing the work that we're doing. The numbers are cool. The numbers are important, but you can't just have the numbers and sacrifice the vision, the purpose, the why. Because at a certain point in time, a number is a number, and that's it. It's zeros, ones, commas. If you have a team whose finances are not impacted, whether or not the number is up or down, it's really, really hard for them to relate to the number over the long haul. They may be able to do it for the short term, but again, there's got to be something greater than just the numbers. Now, being able to tie the numbers to the vision is important. And I believe you need both. There is no one or the other, there's a both. Because if the numbers don't improve, then we might not have a company, and we might not have a job, and we might not have a paycheck. So of course, the numbers gotta be there. They have to. But the vision, the purpose, the why, tied to the what, that is the motivator that gets you to the numbers. So you cannot sacrifice the vision just to talk about the numbers. The other point about the vision and the why and the purpose is if there's one for the team, the high level, how can each team member take that vision and purpose and relate it to something that's personally important for them? You can do that with a vision for the team. You cannot do that with numbers for the team. This is the place that the vision goes and the purpose goes that the numbers just cannot go to for the team specifically. So coming into this understanding as a manager, I need to have a vision for my group. We need to talk about this vision, make sure this vision is on point, make sure everybody understands it. Even let's amend it if need be, because the team thinks so. The vision gives us a star, a place to go. The vision lets us understand, what are we doing? Why are we doing it? That vision in turn can connect to the individual team members. Their personal vision can connect to this. And once their personal vision connects to this, their personal why is connected to it. Now you have a driving force, and that force will push through no matter what obstacles are in front of them, because it's understood of their own personal why and what this means to them personally. And when you have that type of depth in the meaning of the work, your numbers will be met, period, end of story. Now, you can't have a vision and not have a plan. We need some step-by-step actions on how do we do these things. And that, again, falls on you as the manager to provide. So we provide the vision, then we provide the plan, which actually ends up being the roadmap of how we get to where we need to go. Now, what's the point of the plan or the roadmap? Well, the point of it is the step-by-step process. With the step-by-step process, we understand where we need to focus at this given moment in time. Once we understand where we need to focus at in a given moment of time, now I have singular focus, or maybe a tighter, more narrow focus. That way I don't become overwhelmed by how big the vision could potentially be. But also now I have the steps that I can implement. And as I implement them, I can focus on them and know that this is one step closer to the vision, one step closer to the goal. So as a manager, we set the vision, we get agreement and buy-in on the vision. We modify that vision to make sure that we have agreement and buy-in on it. And after we do that, we lay out the plan of how. And then we get buy-in on that too as well, with the understanding that, hey, you guys are a part of this. Let's make this work. What do we need to do? Here's what I've laid out. What am I missing? What else can I get? With that understanding of how do I get this buy-in, With that understanding of here are the steps, now you've taken something that can be probably too large for some, and you've shrunk it down to something that's actionable. You have focus points. You know what you need to do. You know where you need to go, but you most importantly know where you're going. And then you're getting training on the steps and the work that you're doing to get there. But then because you hired right, you've got people who got the right attitude and the intellect and the personality and character traits to be able to implement all of these steps. As we implement the plan and we work in the plan, we got to measure our progress. We got to see our results to make sure we're hitting the mark, the numbers, right? We need to understand what the numbers are. And we do that by measuring, because as we measure, we see and we understand how good our performance is. And then once we understand how good our performance is or how bad our performance is, after that, we do what we need to do to make adjustments. And as we make the adjustments, we tweak, we tinker, we make these adjustments with the goal of actually getting better and increasing the level of our performance. But we need to be able to create the metrics and understand them. And again, this is what falls on you as a manager to know what are the KPIs, what are the metrics that I need to be looking at to measure, to understand how well we're doing. Are we on target or off target? Once you know what those metrics are, you can share them out so everyone can participate. Everyone knows, hey, we're on point, we're not on point. We're missing the mark or we're on the mark. These metrics give us a chance and the ability to be able to say, we're making progress to our overall objective. We are working like the team that we should be. And you're getting this balance of the objectivity and the subjectivity. You understand about the purpose and the vision. You understand about the numbers and the goals. And instead of saying, I'm going to seesaw between focus on one for a long period of time, then the other for a long period of time, you're finding ways to be able to be a little bit more balanced and intertwine them throughout the day, throughout the work. Now it just seems more like a rhythm of boom, boom, boom. There's a vision. I got this metric. I know the overall objective. I can see the metric. Are we hitting it? I feel my purpose in this work. I know why I'm doing it. If we're off the metric, it's okay because I can get trained on how to fix it. There's all of these things that are going on, and they work together. They're stitched together, and all of these things that factor in, and they're factoring simultaneously. And you're using this rhythm of understanding each major part of it. And as you understand each part of it and you're tying it together at the same time, you're creating a rhythm and a movement for the team as they work day in and day out. So as they work day in and day out, they know my teammates are good people because of how we hired. I know I'm going to get trained on everything, so I'm going to continue to expand my skills. I know what we're looking for from a vision perspective. I know how that vision ties into me personally, because I know my own personal goals, and hitting my own personal goals helps us hit that vision. I got a laid out plan so I'm not confused on what I need to do. I can track my progress because I can see my KPIs toward my goals. Anytime I'm off of my goals, I can be okay with that because I know we can have coaching and training, and it's constant. And it just repeats itself over and over and over and over and over again. And this is the rhythm of which you can set up a great team to work at a high level. Understand that you as a leader have facilitated each one of these steps. So I hope that was helpful for you. Let me know in the comments if you liked it, you didn't like it, what else you would like to see. If you're looking for more help, personal help, a little bit more detail, click the link somewhere around there. It'll give you access to me. From there, we can talk more, hear about your needs. I'll see you in the next one.